Master Books is designed to help you win and to help your students enjoy the learning process. We are more of a skill-based curriculum than we are in a level-based curriculum. So you want to make sure that, like for math and language, you look at the readiness guides and just see where your student would best place. We have the ability to focus on the student independently, individually, look at what their strengths and weaknesses are, how to build them up. We don't necessarily have to overwhelm them with a lot of drill and kill because we operate in a different work environment. We don't want to copy the public school model. We like to offer a lot of options. We're not like there's one size doesn't fit all. So we like having options. Everybody, hope you're having a good week so far. We're having a good week.
That's it. So
yeah, we're healthy. That's good. So we're gonna do some question and answer. We've got some good questions coming in, and you've got some stuff I gotta tell you before I get started. Okay, I have to give a shout out.
Okay.
To my buddy. Liam. What? Okay. Liam Morris. The reason is, and this is funny because I said the L silent, but
yes. Did you show them the screen?
I did. He believes that you pronounce a GIF with a G.
He sent you a message just to tell you that?
There's a video that says, Mr. Randy, this is how you say it. GIF.
Wow, Liam. I see how it is, buddy. I see how it is. Wow. Okay.
I thought he had pronounced it wrong at first. So I was like,
he
what?
sent you a message just to tell you it's pronounced GIF?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
hey, I need you guys to send me videos of your children saying that it's pronounced GIF.
GIF. It's graphic interchange format. Graphic. It's
You're
an
in
acronym.
marketing. You should know this. It's to make you think about it.
I'm telling you, I know it.
Nope.
Liam knows.
Nope.
Yep.
He's watching.
Babes.
Sorry, Brittany. Yeah, Caitlin Morris is watching. I'm sure Caitlin probably thinks it's GIF. Do you, Caitlin?
Yeah. Caitlin may agree, but that's okay. We'll have to put a poll up.
Honestly.
That's it. We'll put a poll up.
Okay.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Sheila asks, is there an adult Bible study?
With Master Books?
Yes.
Not really a Bible study. We have the study Bible, the Henry Morris Study Bible. We also have, there's the course for Rocking Ordinary, which actually is really good. I was part of the video when we were doing the videos on that, and I thought that was a really good study. And then is it Stressed Out by Todd Friel is a good Bible study. Like there's I forget, it's a 6-part or 8-part course, something like that.
Caitlin said, actually, I agree with Liam and Randy. You know what? It's okay because, over in the live stream in the app, Jess Kaiser, she said this week we started homeschooling officially. Woo woo. And then she said it's Jif, like the peanut butter. So I'm with Jess Kaiser. Thank you, Jess.
Is it Kaiser or Kaiser? See, this is the problem.
This is the problem. Wait.
See?
Maybe it is Kaiser.
Because like Kaiser rolls
I'm
and
just
Buffalo
not
are spelled that way.
Anymore.
That's why
Let
I
us know
it's
how to
probably,
pronounce your last name, Jess.
We need phonetic markings in all your names. Okay. All right.
Okay. Over in the live stream on Facebook, Chelsea asked, do you do science and history every day for elementary schoolers, or do you recommend alternating those subjects each day?
On the beginning of in our courses, we have a daily schedule. So if it's a 2-day or a 3-day, you can alternate it or use it however you want. That would be our recommended. And we put them in like it might be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but you could certainly change that or adjust it the way you want it. Our family typically has done things the core subjects are every day. Math, your basic 4, which would be your math, your language, science, and social studies. And then electives and phys ed and stuff like that tend to be a couple of days a week or one day a week.
Awesome. She said it's Kaiser like the rolls, or like Kaiser
Permanente. It's like that's a hospital chain, isn't it? I think I've done business in.
Angela Odell said my kids pronounce it GIF. She pronounced GIF. So you and Angela are both wrong. Freaking Anna Walter said, Ellie says GIF. Thank you, Ellie. I appreciate that. Another question for you. Kaylin said, is Stepping Stones still on track for being back in stock in April?
Stepping Stones, yes. Stepping Stones has gone to the printer. So Language Lessons 1 and Stepping Stones have gone to the printer. Now, you need to know, in case you don't know, there's a bit of a crisis in the country. Some people are being told they can't go to work.
If you don't know that.
Yes, that just in case you don't know. I hope I'm not surprising anybody.
I hate to burst your bubble this week.
Yeah, if some things don't show up from some of your favorite vendors, it might be because they're struggling to get employees to show up for work. We are not. We have employees in the warehouse. We are still business as usual, but some of our printers are being affected, and so the printer for both of those is a little bit delayed. I think Language Lessons 1 is still on track as far as I know. They're both delayed just a little bit, but we're trying to stay on top of that and keep things as up to date, as fresh as possible.
Awesome. Amanda asked, is Master Books coming out with Algebra 2?
Yes, it's actually in-house. There's a designer going to be starting to work on it. In fact, Kristen is in quarantine in a cabin in the middle of the woods somewhere. And in a secret location that we put blindfolds on her and the kids and drive them out into the middle of the woods, and then we leave them there. So they don't really know where they are. Not really.
She doesn't even know where she is.
And she's got the Algebra 2 actually that started. So it's hit the editorial phase. So, yep, Algebra 2 should be out this year.
Awesome. Jennifer said, suggestions for helping settle a busy child's mind, 7-year-old, during focus time, math and language arts specifically.
Yeah, so there's some teaching tips on this as well. But I think as far as focus goes, even us adults have issues with focus in this culture. It's hard for me to focus. In fact, Brittany can be the first to attest that when she's talking to me, oftentimes I'll pick up my phone and start looking at my phone while she's talking to me.
Also, I'm looking on my phone because I'm going through all of your comments.
Yeah, different. She don't do it as much. So I think one of the things we have to do is we have to model focus. And I think we also have to work with our students that things like video games, television, YouTube, any of those, focus is a skill that our brain learns and is constantly working on. And focus is something that's really difficult for us in a culture anyways, that we're so bombarded with things. It's hard for me to focus on my email box. It's hard for me to focus on tasks at hand because there's so many distractions coming from so many different areas. So when we're working with our kids, I think we have to set up, number one is it has to be age appropriate. How much time do we expect them to actually pay attention? Mm-hmm. And we don't expect adult behavior from a 7-year-old. I think that's important. And then setting up just the amount of time and saying, listen, let's just spend 5 minutes. Something that I've done in the past is sometimes I'll use this for my email. And this is a 20-minute timer. You can get different timers. But what I'll do is I'll just set this on my desk. I'll turn it. And now I'm going to focus on email. I'm not going to look at the Facebook group. I'm not going to look at my phone. All I'm going to focus on while this timer is ticking is the task at hand. Once the sand runs out or the timer goes off, then I have a break. I can mentally break. But my brain says, right now, devote yourself to this, and it helps me a lot. Just a little trick like that. Okay.
Awesome. Laura Wisma said, I may have looked up the pronunciation of GIF online. It said, throughout history, there have been numerous hotly debated topics. I would say so. Steph asks, are there any plans for teachers' guides for the new release of Elements of Faith? Looks amazing, but not sure how to incorporate it into a class.
It's incorporated. The teacher guide is incorporated into the book itself. So everything you need is in that book. It's student led. Now you could read that as a class or whatnot, do group discussion of the questions. The answer key is in the back. So there's not going to be a separate teacher guide. It's all inclusive. It's everything you need in one book.
We're all set. Good to go. Christina asks, is language lessons level 1 available yet? I don't think I've asked that yet.
Language, it's on the way. It's one of those that's at the printer waiting. I know they're working on it.
Ashley asks, is Master Books easy to transition into from other curriculum?
Yes, I think it is. We have other moms, I'm sure, who can comment on that.
There's a couple
I
popping
think some of the things that you want to look at is the placement. We are more of a skill-based curriculum than we are in a level-based curriculum. So you want to make sure that, like for math and language, you look at the readiness guides and just see where your student would best place. Can I also say on language lessons 1 and stepping stones, you're welcome to order the digital. The digitals are available now. So if you're in a hurry, I would recommend looking at ordering the digital version.
And she had asked, are there placement tests or something that will help me determine what level my kids are in? So you kind of answered and touched
Yeah,
on
there
that.
are. On the landing page, the two main are going to be your math and language. Those are the two main. And the guides really will tell you, the math has a readiness test that you want to do, and the language has more of a, can your student write one sentence? Can they write 3 sentences, a paragraph,
Emily said, how does one narrow down which books to choose? There are so many things I want to cover because they all look amazing.
So my recommendation is pick what interests you the most and start there. What the student is most interested in. So if they're interested in animals, elementary zoology. If they're interested in their mechanical and physical world or applied engineering, go that direction. And we like to offer a lot of options. We're not like there's one size doesn't fit all. So we like having options because one family likes a traditional approach, another like Charlotte Mason approach. And neither one are exclusively correct. Those are preferences, I think.
Celeste asked, if you have a little time, please discuss a little about deschooling and homeschooling. Is not school at home. I noticed new moms here forced to homeschool due to the pandemic and are surely feeling the stress and pressure of suddenly homeschooling.
Okay, so how do I say it without stepping on toes? That's what I've got to do. We don't want to copy the public school model. So let me say that. We have the ability to focus on the student independently, individually, look at what their strengths and weaknesses are, how to build them up. We don't necessarily have to overwhelm them with a lot of drill and kill because we operate in a different work environment. If I could say, I've been part of the homeschooling movement for a long time, and sometimes deschooling or unschooling, you have to be a little bit careful with that. People who unschool and do it very successfully actually work really hard to create their own curriculum. So if you're going to unschool, don't look at it as a way to say we don't do school, because we're always training, we're always educating, we can have focuses, but I think we have to be careful not to fall into the unschooling that means I don't school. And over the years, we've seen a lot of families that we've worked with or been part of, community with, that would unschool, which basically meant that they gave up any kind of structure to their schooling or formalized curriculums, and then their students began to fall behind. And so it's easy to kind of step into that mode. And I think there is a time that it's not enough, and that we have to be, we have standards we have to work with and those types of things. If you're coming from a public school setting or a private school setting and suddenly it's been thrown upon you that you have to homeschool, yeah, there's a place to say, wait a minute, we need to back up a little bit. We need some wins. We need to assess what the student needs. And maybe that's a good place for a teaching tips. Maybe so Thursday, why don't we address that? Thursday we'll address kind of a getting started guide, my recommendations to a getting started guide to homeschooling. Maybe we can see if we can wire in Kristen as well and approach that, because sometimes people think, oh my goodness, I got to maintain exactly what I know, and the paradigm has shifted. So hopefully that kind of answered a little bit of that.
But we'll hit again on Thursday at 3 p.m. Central.
Yeah. Yes.
We'll discuss it. Jackie said the best way to print ebooks.
Well, you definitely, if you get an ebook, you don't want to open it in the browser. You want to download the file, because the browsers, like even Chrome, won't display more than the first page now. So sometimes people will download it. They'll open it, and they'll open it in the browser. It comes up and the font is kind of funky and it doesn't lay out right. You need to download the file onto your system, then open it. So that would be first. And then, you can do it different ways. Some people think that you're going to save a lot of money by downloading and printing. We offer the PDFs for to make copies in an immediate family to use for missionaries or people where shipping might be prohibitive, anything like that. So our books are affordable enough that if you buy the book and a printer cartridge and a ream of paper, you're probably not going to save a lot. For those of you, and we don't, the game plan is we're going to continue shipping books as long as we can. If for some reason our warehouse crew isn't allowed to be in the office, then we would recommend using digital. What I would recommend is maybe not printing off the whole thing at once, maybe printing off a couple weeks at a time or a quarter at a time and working that way. But just print a sample before you try printing the whole book, because they were designed to go to printers and printed in mass rather than being printed on home machines. Another great thing that you could do is, if you have a tablet or a pad of some sort, is allowing the student to read there and writing the answers on a piece of paper. It's not as ideal as the books. And our recommendation, our books are, everybody that buys the books or tries printing, they're like, I should have just bought the books, because even with shipping, it was so much cheaper than trying to print off 500-page book.
Carrie asked, can you show the new lay flat binding and how to break it for those who may not know?
I have no idea what that means. Carrie, what do you mean?
She's on here because I see her jumping in.
There's the lay flat binding is a different kind of binding in that the book opens up and lays flat, and it looks like the book is defective because it's not glued to the binding. But when you open it, it's just meant to lay flat, so the paper lays flat so the student can write better. Our products, if evolution is kind of a bad word here, right? So you almost don't want to say evolves, but our printing process evolves, and we've in the last year we've fixed perforation issues. We've gone to a really heavy paper. If you were with any of the earlier curriculums, you'll notice of our earlier version, some of the paper was thin. So we still have a couple of that are still in printing that have that. And we use a heavier paper. So now it's so heavy, the books are coming there like this. And the bindings, if we don't work towards that binding, it's difficult. But every printer is a little bit different. And we use multiple printers. Whoever we can get the product in the highest quality and the quickest amount of time is who we use. So sometimes bindings can vary.
Right. And Desiree said that Jessica shows an example in her organization video.
Of how to break the binding?
That's what I'm assuming.
Man, okay. I feel so out of the loop right at the moment. Jessica says, open the book.
Carrie said.
Oh, Carrie, yeah. That's Carrie. Is Carrie spelled with a C or a J? Sorry, Carrie.
Yeah.
Open the book.
GIF.
Cut cover to cover to break it. You put cover. I don't know what that means. So it opens.
We'll catch him up later.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the video is. I'm sorry. Can you tell I had no preparation? You put. I'm sorry.
We're gonna have to loop his brain around this a little later, but I just want to say that you won't live down that GIF is pronounced GIF and Carrie's pronounced Jessica.
Yeah.
Just say. At least mine, Kaiser and Kaiser. I mean,
you've been Carrie and Joy for a long time.
Yeah, that's true. Jackie asking, both levels of more than words be taught together, or are they on a different schedule?
They're not integrated. So, I mean, you could teach them together, but it's not like you're going to go over the same topics, I don't believe. So my recommendation would be consider them to be two distinct courses.
Aaron said, I just wanted to tell you that we love Master Books. I'm so thankful that we found this curriculum.
Thank you.
There was a question. What do you recommend for reading? I switched to Master Books 100% this year. #very happy. But literature reading, I greatly miss. My 10-year-old was happy to let the heavy readings go. Are there any literature recommendations?
We only recommend the books that we publish because we don't want to recommend books that I know some of the high school courses have some classics in them. But we want to be careful with our literature recommendations to recommend things that we are comfortable, worldview that we're comfortable with. And I say that in the homeschooling movement, there are a lot of different literature books available, and some of them we just won't bring into our house. So we don't allow literature lists or literature recommendations here, just because we think you have to be careful. And yeah, there are so many good Christian faith-based literature programs, though. Master Books has readers, some readers and some literature. YWAM has phenomenal historical biographies, and I think that those are exceptional. At some point, I would love to have more of a literature-based program. We used, when we were kids, and I think you guys did too, the ACE School of Tomorrow, their literature program, way back, I graduated from an ACE school back in 1987, so this was in the 80s. But their literature program, books like George Mueller, Hudson Taylor, Little One Maid of Israel, all of these books had such a huge impact on who I am as a person. And but they were very tailored to missions, and their program didn't believe in outside. They only believed in the faith-based literature. And I think there was merit to that because, and maybe I didn't understand the Scarlet Letter. I had such a strong commitment to the kingdom. And so I've just kind of rambled there, but I think I would recommend looking for some companies that publish Christian literature and living books, but that have a biblical worldview and focus that your student would be interested in.
Awesome. And Desiree said that, yes, Breaking the Binding is in Jessica's video. So check that out.
Maybe we'll have to get that video and post a link.
Master Books, they beat you to it.
It says Master Books organizational tips and answers how to break your books. It doesn't, but.
No, I was like, where are you reading this? It's pronounced GIF.
GIF.
Amber said, is the language lessons 1 and math practice 1 and 2 still coming out in April? Thanks.
I'm not sure to be here in April. I know they're working on it. They're working on it. So.
Crystal said, next year my son will be in language lesson 6. Should I also use the beginning level of writing strands alongside it? Not sure if I understand when writing strands should be started. Thanks.
My recommendation, Crystal, would be use language lessons for living education 6. Enjoy it. When you're done with language lessons for living education 6, take the placement or readiness test for writing strands and see where your student places. So in grade 7, just start them where it's appropriate for them. Maybe they could go to beginner there, or maybe they'll go to intermediate 1 or 2 in 7th grade, no worries. You don't need to do both. They're not meant to do both. They run concurrently, and language lessons, I think, is more comprehensive. That would be my recommendation. Go with language lessons until you're ready. Some people do use writing strands together because it's not overly intensive, and you could do that. But I don't think you would have to.
We had a sad face and an angry face pop up there.
No way.
Yeah, way.
Somebody's sad face?
Somebody's sad face, and I'm pretty sure there was an angry face, so.
Well, I've had angry faces before.
This is true.
I've learned to deal with angry faces.
Be nice, people. Be nice.
Every time Facebook puts me up, they make me look even.
I know, all of our
They make me look like I
thumbnails.
have mental issues.
I'm always like,
Well,
and you're like,
that will become
I know, ready?
but
Thumbnail. Okay, Carrie said, have any of the courses from Knowledge Quest been updated to be Master Book editions?
not yet, but they will. So we're working on that. But right now, our team is working really hard to get through the spring line and get a few things done. And then in the fall is where we'll really start applying ourselves to some of those.
Can the Star Spangled State Book and Craig Froman's new U.S. Geography be combined and correlate well?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I think it could. I think you could use the two books together, but I don't know. They weren't written to go together. So how's that? I don't have a good answer for that one yet because I haven't fully seen Craig's books yet.
Awesome. Good afternoon, Jessica. Jumping in on the Facebook Live. And
Jessica, that you pronounce that Carrie.
That is.
Oh no, that's the one above it.
He was supposed to read Carrie, but he accidentally said her name, Jessica. So that's what.
How you do that?
is.
We don't really know.
And Jess said, "Oh, I think you all are great. People need to be nice." I agree. I like Jess Kaiser. I almost pronounced it wrong again. I like Jess Kaiser. Her and I are buddies.
She's forgiven you for mispronouncing her name. So.
I hope so.
Yes.
We agree on GIF though. Okay. Will Expedition Earth have a physical copy layer on? What age level is it good for?
What?
Will Expedition Earth have a physical copy layer on? What age level is it good for?
What book is that?
I
don't
know. I'll look that up while you answer this. How does Master Books compare to Saxon and Singapore
How does Master Books compare to Saxon and Singapore?
math?
Well, the Saxon method is a spiral method, and John Saxon was extremely disciplined in the program that he had. It's rigorous, it's spiral based, and for some students and families it works great. For others, it's very frustrating. I have not used Singapore. I do know Singapore uses different method. I think it is advanced, and oftentimes students coming into the program from Singapore, the transition, they don't have any problem transitioning. Sometimes they're ahead. So I think as far as the Saxon method, it's really more style, right? So we use a Charlotte Mason method for elementary. Saxon method is more traditional in K through 3. Then you move into the Saxon method really in like grade 4 and up. And then when you get up to the high school level, like Jacob's geometry is more of a traditional styled program versus the Saxon method. Saxon algebra actually includes geometry. And then later when they were purchased by Harcourt released its own geography course, but that was never the way John Saxon intended that to be. And we have a separate geometry course, and those are very proven. So I think stylistically, there's a different philosophy. Math is kind of one of those programs where you have to disciple yourself under the teacher and appreciate the teaching style that they have. Yeah. That make any sense? It's like Yeah, no, I won't go there. Okay.
Awesome. Jess said she forgave me for pronouncing her name wrong. Sherry said, I have accidentally angry faced before. I always feel horrible. At least now we know maybe most of them are on accident.
I used to get kind of like, it used to kind of hurt my feelings.
Because like when you're doing a live video and you see everybody's angry faces come up, you're like, wait, what did I just say that would have made everybody mad?
The first time I've had one in a long time, it was my granddaughter, and she wasn't mad at me. She was mad at her mom because her mom was making her stop watching.
Carrie said, okay, today is Carrie Stumps Randy Day. It is true. Every question she's asked, you've been like,
can somebody...
This is Expedition Earth, so you know.
Oh. I don't know. That's not the possibility of that being republished may be there, but it's not one of the core. A child's geography book. Would you mind grabbing that book? And is there a map track up here?
For Christmas? So
like the child's geography books, these are books that will be this is it. This is fine. I don't think I have a map track. So this is one of the series we'll be working on, and then also the map track series. Those will be the first two series that we're working on from Knowledge Quest.
Awesome. And Ashley, I think we kind of hit this question a little earlier. She said, is Master Books Curriculum easy to adjust to? So I think we kind of got that right.
I think so. And if you're homeschooling, because it was written for homeschoolers. So the idea is to make it open and go, to make it so that there's a daily schedule that you can get through 180 days, to make it independent for students to learn. So mom doesn't have to sit there for 5 hours a day. And I think, from everything we get, families who've used a lot of different curriculums coming into the program, we've heard a lot of fantastic reviews of families saying it was a game changer. So I think what you're going to see from most coming in from most curriculums is that Master Books is designed to help you win and to help your students enjoy the learning process.
And further on her first question, Desiree said, I would say math lessons accommodates right brain learners much better than the other two programs mentioned. And then Laura Wiersma said, I grew up with Saxon. My daughter used Singapore. Master Books saved our friendship.
Wow. Good job, guys.
Amanda asked.
I need to just start asking questions to the group.
Because they're going to answer.
The only one that most, like half of them don't know is that you spell GIF, G-I-F, GIF.
The rest. We're going to hear the end of this. I thought we had settled it, but Liam jumped in and took your side, and now I'm kind of bitter.
Hopefully Liam's not bitter because I spelled his name with a silent L.
Because you said Iam?
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't there an actor that spells his name that way?
No, it's Liam. The L is silent.
Wait, you might be wrong. I don't know.
L is silent. Jump in there. Does anybody know of Iam spelled L-I-A-M? No, nobody does. But if you do, let me know.
You're wrong.
If
you're wrong, you'll have to start saying GIF. If I'm wrong, I'll say GIF.
If there's such a thing as Iam spelled with an L?
I don't know.
Okay, fine.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, bet.
We'll see. I don't know.
I want a legit case. And Jess Kaiser said nope.
Well, now she's just agreeing.
She's just agreeing with you. Amanda said, when will the math practice sheets be available? Did I just ask that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, you didn't just ask it, but you asked it before.
Okay. Carrie said, how do you know where to really put your child in the language arts? One is just a list of skills and not placement exam. My son was a private school, classical Christian school, and we are in math too, but it is review from Saxon 2, but language has been hard to find where he would start off.
Well, here's the thing about language. I think when you look at it, like, can they write a sentence? Can they write 3 sentences? Just an idea of that, have them do some writing and then place them. If they go back a level and work through it, you're not going to hurt them. if they have the basic skills, like, don't overthink it. And I wouldn't call them overly advanced and place them too far ahead, but I wouldn't overthink it. You know what I mean? Sometimes some people that are perfectionists do have a hard time. They overthink things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you know what happened the other day? I'm sorry. I went to Lowe's and I had to get a faucet for the sink for Mom.
Okay.
I called her 3 times. She's
after
like,
you gave me such a hard time in the last video calling.
She says, "What do you want, Brittany?"
Mom.
No, she said, "You're beginning to sound a lot like Brittany," because I was like, I don't know about this color. I don't know about this handle. I don't know about that. Well, sometimes that happens with placement tests too. and we can overthink things. How would you like that segue? We can overthink things a little bit.
Good, I guess.
Okay.
Rude.
I love that. Liam is a variation of William. No silent L.
My son is Liam. It is a variation of William.
William.
Liam.
William.
No silent L.
People don't have a hard time.
He's probably thinking Ian. That's what I was thinking. Ian pronounced, but spelled with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you've known an Ian. I'm not letting him off the hook like that, though. I think it's pertaining to the creamer.
Oh, because you called on the creamer multiple times.
Yes.
Yeah.
What kind of coffee creamer would you like?
And you called me back. Mm-hmm. What size do you want?
Size would you? Whatever. I don't even care. Another question. Can you do the 3rd grade history without doing 1st and 2nd?
Yes.
America Story.
Yeah. Yep. I wouldn't use it for a 1st grader, but you could certainly. Yeah. You don't need to have. In fact, you could jump into America Story 2 without 1. You just miss some of the early stuff, but it's not built. Like, you don't have to have that knowledge to get into it.
Also, I think it was Vicky earlier in the app said that her daughter liked that she could see her bird math over your shoulder.
Oh.
Ta-da, da-da-da-da. And pig math and dog math is right behind you, but you can't see that one. Special shout out to Vicky's daughter. Kayla said, I keep hearing that God's Design series will be too challenging for my 3rd grader next year. Do you think it is better suited for a higher grade? I'm also looking forward to adventures in the physical world. Could my 3rd grader do that, or would it be too easy?
Your 3rd grader could do that. Your 3rd grader could probably also do adventures in creation science as well. I know Anna has she's used it with older students and said it worked really well. I think with God's Design, you need to know that that's a grade range, that you can use that for grades 3 through 8. So you want to go the simplest route with grades 3. It wasn't intended to, you weren't intended to do the entire course with all the reading for a 3rd grader. Then it would be overwhelming. So if you use it, you want to just use the easier parts of that course. But I do think Adventures in the Physical World, Adventures in Creation, Let's Talk Science series would be an excellent choice for a 3rd grader.
Awesome. Over in the live stream, Elena said, when is Language Lessons 1 and Stepping Stones going to be shipping? She also said, it will be our 1st year, almost exclusively Master Books. I can't wait. I am using something else for language arts, but my dyslexic, but she insists she wants Language Lessons 1 and cannot wait till it comes. She wants language lessons like Big Sis.
Awesome.
So when will Language Lessons 1 and Stepping Stones be shipping?
We're waiting on delivery from the printer, and I know that they have reduced staff right now, so there's some delays. Physical or the digital books are available, but I don't have a date for you yet. Sometime in April.
Gastro Mama over in the app said, have you thought about making online videos for younger kids? My kids have used reading eggs for phonics, but I would love a more biblical interactive lesson.
I think in the future, anything's a possibility. Right now, really, we moved here in 2015, and I think our editorial and design staff have been burdened and have had a massive workload on them the whole time. They drag themselves in on Monday. They drag themselves out on Friday. So we're just working to get out a lot of curriculum in a very short amount of time. The priorities are the core courses, math, language, science, and history. Then we're working on electives. But we do have, every now and then we acquire a new company and we put that on the design team, like Jacobs and Writing Strands and now Knowledge Quest. So in the future, I think we'll have a lot of cool things. We're just getting started.
Awesome. Michelle asked, what books do you recommend for questions about God, the origin of him and Trinity? How can God be everywhere at once, etc.? She is 8 years old. We have
God is Really, Really Real is a good book, and Answers for Kids.
And we have the Big Thoughts for Little Thinkers, the Trinity.
Yeah, that's good too. Our pastor was trying to explain Trinity. I don't think he did it quite the justice of Big Thoughts for Little Thinkers, so I made Brittany take him a copy. He was very appreciative.
He was very... I was like, please do not make me give him this series for his children. And you were like, take it. And I was like, I know you were fully capable of explaining this to your children, but my dad asked me to give this to you. It was really embarrassing. And yeah. Anyways.
He probably, no, he struggles with a G and J. Okay, go ahead.
He says Jod. Carrie Bailey said, FYI, just heard from Jessica that the newer binding doesn't have to be broken. So disregard. We'll watch the video linked because it's good.
Great.
And she said, though, the Big Thoughts basket is really good for questions.
That would be a good one, too.
Michelle said, what language arts curriculum would work best for my daughter who's dyslexic and ADHD?
I don't know how old she is, but I would recommend Writing Strands. If you go into the Writing Strands, there's an audio of the creator writing it, but dyslexia was part of their story and why he didn't do. He just focused more on the communication side and word choice and writing versus all of the language and grammar side.
Okay, I'm gonna pronounce your name wrong, but Kay Velasquez.
Velasquez, is that like a Jackie Velasquez? Is that?
No, it's Kay Velasquez.
I know, but is that wasn't there a singer, Jackie Velasquez?
Maybe in your time.
Ouch. That wasn't that long ago.
I don't know. She asked, when will Practice Makes Perfect Digital be available?
My assumption would be in April. Okay.
Awesome. I don't know. I just started reading questions or reading.
You just kind of zoned out there.
Okay. Next one. Amanda and Kayla would like to know, do you have any tips for an older elementary child that has difficulty with listening comprehension? I've had her start reading the material out loud to herself. It's been helpful, but is there anything else I can do? Thank you for these videos. They're so helpful. And somebody else said they're looking forward to your response on that.
Okay, two things. All right. One is you could read it.
It's Jackie Velasquez. It's her favorite singer. Sorry, anyways.
So what, she's like 50? Mrs. Thomas is like 50 years old? Because that's the only age that would have known that, is what you said.
Is what I said. I don't know. She was a favorite Christian singer, was a 90s Christian artist. See, I was 98.
That's when you were born?
Mm-hmm. So in your time.
It was probably in my time.
So I'm not saying that you're like
I stand corrected for the first time today.
Mrs. Thomas, I apologize, but he just misrepresented me.
Yeah, I stand corrected.
She's in her 30s. Thank you very much. And yeah, they're all jumping in now because you insulted them because you misrepresented everything.
Well, you're the one that said on your time.
In your time. I wasn't calling you old, but it was before my time.
Okay, the parents listen too.
Everybody's jumping in insulted. I'm 26. I'm only 35. You insulted all these women.
Okay. The question was,
Do you have any tips for an older elementary child that has difficulty with listening comprehension? I've had her start reading the material out loud to herself, and that's helped, but is there anything else I can do? So 2 things.
Here's something. Who is this? Who are we talking
Amanda Oaten.
Amanda, I would like you to try something. Have her record it into your phone or into a recorder and then play it back. And see if she gets it. Just an experiment. I don't know that that'll work.
For me, writing it out always helps because I've struggled with it too. So if I write it out, 1, you're writing it, and then 2, I'm seeing it. And then when I'm trying to remember it later, like I also have a hard time presenting things, thoughts and ideas, but I can visualize it in my head. So it could be also that she's more of like a visual learner.
So there's multiple intelligences, right? You have visual intelligence, auditory intelligence, you have kinesthetic intelligence, where it's your motor skills are you need to be active. So sometimes kids need to actually be jumping or riding a scooter around the table while they're listening to it being read. There's different things. Sometimes just a squishy ball that a kid could be squishy, and doing that would be enough to help the brain engage because the brain is connecting. So sometimes if having the student read it and even read it out loud, you may just be dealing with one intelligence, and sometimes having them just sit there and jump on one leg while you read it and do some testing with that. I was going to do a teaching tips on multiple intelligences. I will still do that in a couple weeks. I'm going to do this one on getting started, but you want to test some different things, Amanda, and see. But I'd be curious of reading it into something and then playing it back and hearing it auditory as well. If that helps with the comprehension, that to me would signal kind of the auditory. For me, I'm visual. So when I read something, I write it down. And when I write it down, I see it. But I think the kinesthetic part also, it connects in my brain that I need to do that. So, okay.
I know like the memorization study Bible uses like all 3 of those to study scripture.
Yes.
To say it out loud, write it down, and like hear it.
And hear it back.
Yeah.
The people are really offended by your...
Not by me, it was you, but I'm amazed. We have a lot of 35-year-olds.
I think everybody needs to just get their angry faces and get them out.
Get them out of the way. Hit us with the angry faces. We're ready for it. Let's go.
It may feel good to give us some angry faces. I don't know, but it may be hard to take too. Okay.
Vicky said, my daughter uses Aaron's Crazy Putty to help with stress and learning something new.
Yeah. I did I'll talk about it more in a teaching tip, but there's an angry face.
Here they come. We said we were ready for it.
Wouldn't it be neat if you got shocked every time you got an angry face?
I'm sorry.
I took an adult training course in college, and because I was a trainer at the time, I was a corporate trainer. I would fly around the country and train hospitals on how to use the equipment. And it was interesting, the different things that you would do to engage people and to teach them learning and that type of thing. Wow, it really does affect you when you see an angry face.
We told them.
Come on, that's cruel.
She posted it. We just said to hit the button on Facebook. We didn't give you permission to post.
There is somebody 50 now, so she's not angry. Okay.
That's good.
So yeah, Amanda, try to appeal to a couple of them, the jumping or doing something, squeezing a ball or doing something like that, and then try recording it and having her play it back and just see how that works for you. But let us know, it's one way or another. Let us know if either of those worked.
More 35-year-olds. Jolene said 35 is where all the cool kids are at. I'm thinking so because like everybody's chiming in that they're 35. So
not everybody.
Not most everybody. You just have to contradict everything that I say.
Today seems to be that day.
It does. Just that people have been quarantined for too long. That's why they have angry faces. Mrs. Thomas says, I have nothing but happy faces during these Q&As. Thank you. Michelle said, when you have Bible verses in your books, does it come from NIV standard or KJV?
We allow the authors to choose the translation that they want. So we don't specify. For families that prefer a translation, we recommend that you use that as a teaching opportunity, that you look the scriptures up as well in KJV. And if there's, we're real careful about the integrity of scripture, but if there's a reason that you have to say, here's why we use KJV, this interpretation, I think that's a really good opportunity, because we're always going to be presented as Christians with multiple translations. It's the world we live in. Some people preach from the Message Bible. And I think it's a good opportunity to teach our kids. We want to look at the integrity of scripture. We also want to look at why there's a difference in translations. KJV, word for word, literal translation, versus a thought translation. A KJV is a 12th grade reading level. It's not always appropriate for a first grade student. New Living Translation is written for a 3rd grade reading level. So in some demographics, like where I pastored, the KJV was too complicated and it was just going over people's head. And so we used NLT, the New Living Translation, but it was a 3rd grade reading level. It was a thought for thought translation, and it was easier for people to understand. I say all that because it's more complicated when we're working with authors than just saying, we demand that you use this translation. So we always say curriculum is a tool. You are the carpenter. Use the tool what best meets the needs of your family.
Right. Desiree said, it's okay, Don, they asked for it. I don't know why you're giving Don such a hard time. Sheesh. It was for the angry face.
Oh.
Still.
I was just playing.
Picking on people. So mean.
Yeah.
But Dawn also asked, she said, recommendations on how to handle a 15 and 5-year-old who are almost on the same level without hurt feelings.
Kick them out.
Wow.
For a 15 and
Poor
a 5-year-old.
Dawn is getting such horrible feedback.
Oh, it's Dawn.
It's
I'm
the
sorry.
same Dawn. Leave Dawn alone.
Dawn, I would say.
She said she's good.
Recommendations on how to handle two students that are insane. Listen, we all have strengths and weaknesses. I grew up with an uncle who he barely got out of high school, but he was a brilliant business person, always had money, always had toys. He had his own transmission shop. He was amazing. And he didn't enjoy the academics, but mechanically and just common sense wise, he was sharp and sly as a fox. Like he just had an incredible mind, but it didn't work that way. That's life. And not everybody has to be good at math. Not everybody, I'm not. And what I'm good at is having to talk myself into getting good grades, but not knowing how to do the work. So I went into sales. So I think with the kids, it's more about the skills and it's more about room for growth. We all just want to keep growing. I want to grow and learn more and develop and create that kind of culture. Doesn't matter what it says on a book. It doesn't matter all of that. What we're looking for is, have we improved who we are today so that tomorrow we've grown and we have that record of growth. And for a 15-year-old, they may have the ability to go a little faster, or they may have the ability to transfer some of their energy into some things that they really will excel at and learn. And so, I can empathize with a student because I transferred from public school into a private school in 8th grade. And I had to go back to like 5th grade levels in English and math and some of that. Well, Kristen, who sat next to me and who I was madly in love with, was ahead of where she should have been. And so that was difficult, but that's life. And together, we've been okay.
Good. We hope, Don, that was much more helpful than his previous recommendations.
Yes, I was absolutely just kidding.
Lacey said, math lessons level 2 teaches about U.S. money and Mr. Measure and the U.S. imperial measurements using liquids. My question is there enough Canadians who purchase Master Books for you to make available a downloadable Canadian money lessons and a Canadian version of Mr. Measure?
It's a good question.@Maybe I'll make a deal with you. Send us the moms@masterbooks.com is the email address for the moms group. Send us the conversions of Mr. Gallon.
Mr. Measure.
Mr. Measure. Gallon.
Jallin.
Not Mr. Jallin. And I will have the marketing designer create one. We won't tell editorial or design.
Don't tell them either. That's our secret.
They don't watch me. And we'll get one for we'll get one that you can print off. Deal?
I think that sounds fair. Also, I just want to say that the creator of measurements in Gallon that was his pronunciation, was Gallon. He didn't say it was Jallin. So the creator of GIFs said GIFs. Just throwing that out.
You don't even know who Jackie Velasquez is.
Apparently a lot of these people do. So I feel a little left out of the loop. Is there a workbook for time or time and money? Depends on the age.
A separate workbook? No, it's incorporated into the math lessons for living education.
Shanna said, my little girl is starting kindergarten this fall. Can you tell me what you recommend purchasing for her? I've been using another curriculum for my boys, but I'm leaning towards transitioning all of us to Master Books.
If she's 5 years old, I would recommend starting her in Simply K. If she's a preschooler, I would recommend Stepping Stones. It's going to be a developmental program. That'd be my recommendation without asking a lot more questions.
Random girl said, in the app, that's her name, said, poor Canadians need representation too, eh? I just love the A at the end of it. That's the only reason I read that comment. Jessica said, my mother passed away this weekend and it's the first big loss for my kiddos. Is there a resource or book that you offer that will help them during this time?
Well, I'm very sorry that you lost your mom. That's extremely difficult. And it is difficult to understand loss and suffering. One book that I recommend, How Could a Loving God, Ken Ham wrote. I think that the concept of understanding that we live in a fallen world and the consequence of living in a fallen world is death. But that we have the blessed hope of the church, that we will all be reunited in Christ Jesus again. And that is what makes us distinct, in that we have hope that even in the physical death, we will be together again. And this life is so short, and there's the hope of, it's just like taking a trip and I say, hey guys, I'm going to see you in 2 weeks, and we get reunited. And that's what we have, is that blessed hope. Mm-hmm. Understanding the sovereignty of God in situations is difficult. When I pastored, something that I would explain to people is, I have a book and there's a title and a subtitle, and so I have an idea of what the book is about, but I really can't tell you what the book is about until I've read the whole thing. And sometimes we're like on this page, and we have questions. We want to know what's this about? Why did this happen? We have to keep reading. We have to keep turning the page. And this is a season, and it's a season where there will be grief and we'll miss that person. But as we keep reading, we learn that we serve a God who is true to his word, who loves us and cares about us, who is working all things together for good, for those of us who are called according to his purpose, that if we put our trust in him, that he will direct our steps. And so right now we're on this page in this chapter, and this isn't that good of a chapter, but we need to keep reading to the end of the book in order to fully understand what the book was about. And I don't think we fully get to the last page of the book until we are right in the presence of Jesus. And all of a sudden, all this is going to make sense. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see that he was a God of love and mercy and grace, and that he had our backs the whole time.
Awesome. Tina asks, does language lessons for living education level 1 use the same sight words per lesson as basic language skills?
I think there's some changes. I think there were some changes in it. I don't know. Maybe if Kristen is watching, she could comment.
Jamie Ashton asks, do I understand correctly that Stovall World History is being updated and that it will be color and will be combined with the existing British history too? Is U.S. history being revised too?
World history there will be British history included in it, and we're incorporating So Noted, the Henry Stovall Genesis account in that. It will have color, the questions. There's a few less answer may vary questions and some more like multiple choice, true, false, along with answers may vary. And yes, American history is being revised as well, and that will be in color. Same with the teacher guide.
Jessica said thank you. Joy said, are the readers that are needed for language lessons available in ebook format? We are planning on getting our curriculum for 3 kids in PDF.
Which curriculum?
Language lessons.
Yes. Yep, they're all available in ebook. When you go to the product page, there's a little, under the price, there's a little tab that has the physical book, and you can click on it and it will show digital or digital ebook.
Okay. Since cursive instruction practice is not included in the language lesson series, when does Kristen recommend starting to teach it? I just texted her the last question. I can text her that.
I saw that question and asked. She typically would start cursive in 3rd grade with our kids. Some people start it earlier than that. Right now, we don't have a cursive course. I know we're kind of evaluating things and looking at things, but I know for us, we've used a reason for because of the biblical worldview. It's a reason for, that's their handwriting course. So that would be, 3rd grade is when we would typically start.
Cool. My friend Jess has to go. She said, thank you so much for doing these lives. Bye, Jess.
So Jess.
So last question from the post. We've gone long today.
Yeah.
Vicky said, tell me about the difference between the God's Design series and the other elementary science curriculum. I have a 9-year-old 3rd grader who does well with Simpleness of America's Story 1 with help. His sister's doing God's Design, Chemistry, and Ecology, and it feels like it would be too much for him, and the Life for Beginners he is doing now is way too simple. Suggestions?
I would look at the previews for Let's Talk Science. The physical world isn't there, but that should be available. I would say by the end of April, you should be able to see a preview, hopefully. And but even Adventures in Creation, just take a look at it, and I think that would that might be the better solution.
In regards to the language lessons questions about the sight words being the same, she said no, they progress.
Okay.
And I lied. I'm going to give one more question. This was the last one. What do you recommend for those of us forced into homeschooling before we were ready? And we'll use this question to kind of wrap up the video. Yeah.
So we'll talk about it more on Thursday in the teaching tips at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. But here's my thing. If you're thrown in at the end of the year, just wrap up the year. Find, maybe you get the math and the language book for that grade level, or find the grade level, cover any learning gaps. Don't overwhelm them. Look for wins, right? Don't overstress. Now, if you're in high school, it's a little different because you're still earning credits and you have to find ways to complete that. We're talking more about elementary students, which this would probably apply more to. Don't overstress about, like, if they don't have school for a week or 2 weeks or a month or 2 months, it's not going to be the end of the world. You have time to catch up, to teach, but work on some of the things like, do we have any learning gaps in math that we could address? Do we, could we do a language and maybe do a little bit of writing? How about reading? Let's get some books that we can read. Maybe we do a family read aloud, and just take some time to let learning become fun, not school, but learning, and then build from there. So focus on the core courses and move into it. Don't panic like, oh my goodness, they're not in school, they're just going to be a failure in life. That's not the way it works. You've got time to actually catch your bearings, and figure this thing out. Even if all you do is say, listen, we're going to read some books and right now, and then I'm going to have you write a book report or present to me. And, we're just going to exercise the brain for a bit. Well, we kind of figure out our bearings here. You've got time. So just relax, take a deep breath, and you're going to be okay. Okay.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Okay. Good, guys. Hey, well, hopefully you endured our silliness a little bit. And we are praying for each of your families and just asking the Lord to protect you, to keep you safe, and to fill you with joy. And we just always want you to know that the work you're doing is such an important work, and you are advancing the kingdom and preparing warriors who are going to face giants we never even imagined. So, all right. Thank you.
Perfect.
And we will talk to you on Thursday. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye-bye.